Aside from the fact that the robots in Real Steel are real, as in they really built moving, pilotable versions of some of these robots over 14 years ago, I wanted to make this video because Real Steel isn't actually about those robots. Yeah, I know. Film junkie, you've lost your damn mind. And yeah, I get it. I thought I was going insane as well. I had no idea where these thoughts were coming from until I rewatched the movie one more time and came back across this scene, and it all started to make sense. So, let me explain. When analyzing Real Steel, I've come across 3 different layers or levels of analysis that result in different but complementary interpretations of the same film. The first surface layer interpretation is of course that the film is a classic underdog tale, coupled with a story of a father righting his wrongs.
You sold me?
That the movie is a feel-good piece of entertainment which doesn't try too hard to be anything more than just that. And while there's absolutely nothing wrong with viewing Real Steel as just that, it does leave out a good bit of detail which was hiding right under the surface. So let's dig a bit deeper and move on to the second layer. It's at this point where you'll find that on top of everything from the first one, the film also kind of tries to tackle the relationship between man and machine. This interpretation lets us get a glimpse into the darker side of the world of Real Steel, where the things that we love are slowly being taken over by machines.
What changed?
A good question. Boxing. Human boxing. It just faded.
Why?
Because the money moved on.
And as that happens, the things people value about those art forms also shifts.
I mean, people wanted more carnage, more show.
This interpretation makes you question if it's worth losing that human aspect of something in exchange for a bigger, flashier version of itself.
He didn't even survive the first round.
Is that what you think boxing is? Zeus beating up some piece of steel that they feed him?
Axelrod's not just some piece of steel, and now that is what boxing is now. Deal with it.
It makes you question what makes those things that we value important in the first place. Is it because of the result or because of what it took to get there? And finally, we have the third layer, which as of making this video, I haven't really seen anyone talk about yet. And this third interpretation is that on top of everything else, a good portion of Real Steel is actually Charlie reliving his past, but with a different perspective. But before we get into that, there's something I'd quickly like to mention. Making these videos takes a lot of time, and what usually happens when I search for materials or information is I'd end up with 50 different tabs. That's why I've personally been a long-time user and big fan of Opera. You see, Opera has this feature called Tab Islands. I can not only sort all my related tabs in the groups, but also expand or collapse them when needed to save space and stay organized. And while I'm using those tabs, Opera leaves these tab traces. The darker the underscore, the more recently you've visited that tab. And as I'm taking notes, I can simply drag that tab down to use the split screen feature for easier comparison without ever disrupting my workflow. There's simply no need for multiple browser windows. And that's one of the biggest perks of Opera. It's so incredibly efficient. For example, with a floating music player, you can control your music without interrupting your workflow and move the player around the screen and even outside the browser. You can also quickly change browser themes depending on the mood that you want to set, with my personal favorites being the Aurora and Midsommar themes. And Opera even gives you the ability to customize each of these to your own liking. Aside from that, if you ever need assistance with anything at all, Opera's built-in AI tool Arya is there to help. Simply press Ctrl and slash or Command and slash and Arya's command line immediately pops up. Once again, without leaving your tab, you can ask it whatever you want and get results faster than searching for things yourself. It even has the ability to create images off of a single prompt, as well as interpret basically any image that you upload. This way, no matter what you need, it's got your back. So yeah, give yourself the upgraded browsing experience you deserve by downloading Opera using the link below. Okay, going back to the third interpretation I was talking about, this whole idea of Charlie reliving his life sounds a little bit confusing, so let me explain. I've always held the belief that two people can live the exact same lives, but come out with two completely different stories. What creates that difference is how each of those two people decide to view and experience those same events. Real Steel puts a heavy emphasis on that belief, by having Charlie basically relive important moments of his life right in front of us, and even uses Max as a way to compare the results. First, what the heck do I mean Charlie is reliving his life? Okay, for example, take a look at the final fight of the movie, where Atom fights Zeus. This fight is basically a recreation of the fight Charlie had against the champ Nico Tandy back in the day when he was still a boxer.
Check this out.
And as Bailey tells us this story of Charlie's past, you'll start to notice a lot of these details sound pretty darn familiar.
Charlie was just supposed to be a warm-up fight, an easy win. Nico wasn't even supposed to break a sweat.
I'd like to buy your robot. It'd be a useful sparring bot for Zeus.
First, Nico couldn't believe the balls on this nobody.
I challenge Zeus to a fight.
But Charlie kept coming, and that's when Nico looked scared.
Rich girl is ripping him a new one over there. You know why? Because they're scared.
And you'll notice that from this point forward, a lot of what happens with Adam is basically exactly what happened with Charlie. Adam shocking the world and everyone watching as they see him do what they thought was impossible. He made the world champ get tired.
This thing once and for all. I gotta tell you folks, the champ looks tired. This robot seems to be running on empty.
He was toying with Nico. The top contender, number 2 in the world, and Charlie was dancing with him.
I don't believe it. Adam is taunting Zeus.
And finally, Adam loses the fight. The judges' scores come in, and Zeus is still the undefeated champion of robot boxing.
What happened? Did Charlie beat Nico Tandy?
No, Nico Tandy rung my bell and went on to be the undefeated world champ for the next 3 years.
And still world robot boxing champion, Zeus!
And on this part of the newspaper, you can see it even talks about the strategy Charlie used of tiring the champ out before attacking, which is the exact same strategy he used on Zeus.
Please do something!
Not yet.
And since Bailey was at this fight back in the day,
You were at the Nico Tandy fight?
that's probably why she was saying "not yet" as she watched Charlie wait in the Zeus fight, because out of everyone watching, she's the only one who knows what Charlie is up to.
Not yet.
Okay, so now the question is why? Why write this story in a way where Charlie is being put through the same exact set of events? Well, because this time he comes out with a different story. This time he takes that defeat as a victory and starts recognizing all the great things that came from their journey with Adam despite ultimately losing. From fixing his relationship with Max to putting Adam's name out there for the world to see. This really is the start of something big. In comparison to his past, Charlie could have easily experienced these same benefits. His coach was basically family to him after all those years of training.
He loved you like family.
And his fight against Nico Tandy put his name out there to the world as the underdog who gave the champ a run for his money. The only real difference is once again how he sees it.
So he knocked you out?
Oh yeah, so did a lot of guys.
Yeah, and you knocked a lot of guys out too.
24 and
Charlie.
19.
24 and
Exactly a
19, but
career.
every fight a knockout.
And it's only because he chose to see that fight as a loss that it actually ended up degrading his life and character instead of improving it. And that's what leads him to the state he was in the beginning of Real Steel. But this type of comparison doesn't stop here. Now let's talk about Max's role in all of this. Throughout Real Steel, Max is constantly used as a way to compare what Charlie's life could be like if he simply looked at things a different way. This contrast between how Charlie and Max sees things is constantly at play up until the end of the film, when Charlie finally changes his perspective for the better. And so we'll see that during his character development process, the film finds a way for us to experience the same set of events from two different perspectives. So let me show you what I mean. If we take a look at these two fights, as well as the scenes that led up to them simultaneously, you can easily notice this at play. The first one being the Midas fight with Noisy Boy, and the second one being the fight at the zoo with Adam. First, let's see how characters get their robots. Charlie at this point in the film is still constantly taking things at face value. A win is a win, a loss is a loss, and there's nothing else to it. That's the type of mindset he has. So he hears there's a deal with Noisy Boy.
Noisy Boy's for sale. Wow, in his day, Noisy Boy was a killer.
A legendary boxing robot, and so it must be good, right? Boom, instant buy. No research, nothing, just spend the money.
I'm buying Noisy Boy. Oh, I got the money.
In fact, he spent such little effort learning about Noisy Boy that once it arrived, he didn't even think of the possibility that it could have been set to use Japanese instead of English.
Doesn't work. Right, left, uppercut. I knew that price was too good to be true. We got screwed.
Miggy, he died.
Nothing crazy yet, but we'll get there in a minute. Now let's look at how Max got Adam. Again, he happens across the robot, although this time not from a call. But unlike Charlie and his surface level interpretation of everything, Max literally has to dig deeper beneath the surface to get to Atom, and instead of buying it instantly, he has to spend the entire night digging Atom out. Alright, we're starting to see some pretty strong contrast, but let's keep going because it only gets better. After getting Noisy Boy, Charlie immediately wants to take him to a fight and earn some cash, so they head to Crash Palace in an attempt to make some money.
Flan, he can take any bot in this place, you know.
Max, knowing Charlie is extremely unfamiliar with a robot, suggests that he take some small fights, win some easy cash, and just get the heck out.
We should take an undercard fight, make a little cash, and get the hell out of here.
Charlie, of course, disregards that advice and immediately chooses the main event.
He's gonna crush Midas and I'm gonna make some real cash. We'll take Midas!
Despite never even testing out, learning, or training with Noisy Boy, Charlie automatically assumes that Noisy Boy will give him an easy win because of its reputation as a legendary boxing robot.
Fifth, this is Noisy Boy, an original Talk Machido bot. He was a World Robot League boxer. Come on!
And so what's the result?
1-2 Overlord! Free call!
So now let's compare that to Max. He also immediately asks for a fight after Atom is functional.
Can we get him a fight?
This time, however, Max tests out Atom's features and gets familiar with using him before the fight at the zoo. Like Charlie, he's faced with the same question. Take the easy fights and pocket some quick cash, or go for the big bucks?
He can fight my robot Metro.
Charlie, not knowing anything about Atom and only seeing him as a bot dug up in the scrapyard, suggests that Max take the easy fights.
I'll give you $100 for one 2-minute round.
Take it.
300.
But of course, Max still decides to go for the big event, because this time around, unlike Charlie, Max actually took the time to understand Atom and he knows what Atom can do. And just like that, we saw both of our characters go through the same structure of events, but both with a different perspective. Charlie and his face value thinking consistently leading to his own downfall.
Of course he lost, never gave him a chance.
He wasn't that good. Flan, he can take any bot in this place, you know. He wasn't that good.
While Max, who has a much better perspective on things, is willing to spend the time to dig deeper because he understands that the value of something is not determined by what you see on the surface.
You had no idea how to fight that fight. Those combination codes, you didn't even know what half of them even meant. You just threw them in there cocky and half-assed.
Real Steel loves to do these parallels or comparisons between characters, whether it's Charlie and Atom, Max and Charlie, or even Charlie and his past self. Charlie's perspective only really changes at the end of the movie, during the Zeus fight. This is when the film shifts from doing this parallel between Max and Charlie.
He can't hear you. You know you're talking to a machine, right?
Watch me.
Now you're talking to a robot.
I know.
To doing a parallel between Charlie, his past self, and Atom. And in the case of Charlie's parallel with Atom, the shadow feature makes it so they're literally doing the fight in parallel. I made this video because, well, for one, I really liked this movie as a kid, but also because despite its many flaws, it does teach a pretty important lesson. Depending on the way you watch this film, you can either come out with an enjoyable experience or see it as a total failure. Just like what every parallel set of events in Real Steel showed us, the same set of circumstances can lead to very different results, just depending on how you see them. And the same message also happened to predict how the film was going to be received, losing the judge's vote, but becoming the people's champion. And for me, that's what this film and what this video are ultimately about. Real Steel is a direct representation of how two people can live the exact same lives but come out with two completely different stories. Whether or not that story is one of defeat or triumph is not up for anyone else to determine but you. And having the realization that I'm the one who gets to choose, that I'm the one who ultimately gets to decide how valuable the things in my life really are, well, that sounds pretty good to me.